Good evening. It is 6 o'clock, Tuesday, June the 13th, 2023. I'd like to call this meeting of the Montgomery City Council into session at this time. We appreciate everyone tuning in from the outside and those that be with us. Thank you for taking an interest in our city. I'd like to ask that you silence all electronic devices to avoid any interruptions to the flow of our meeting, please. We do have a quorum with all members present this evening. And with that, I'd like to invite you to join us in the invocation and the pledge of our flags. Heavenly Father, we praise you for who you are, what you do in our lives. We ask for your presence to be with us tonight in our communities, our families, our institutions. Guide and deliver us from evil. Let us pursue faith and righteousness and also wisdom in all that we speak, all that we do. And we ask this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
To the American flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
To the Texas flag.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
All right, under the Visitors Citizens Forum, we have 3 people assigned to speak. We'll take them in the order that they were presented to me. First up will be Kevin Smith. Please step to the podium, state your name and address, and you have 3 minutes. Switching to the Energizer Bunny as we speak. All right.
I know all about microphones. Hope that didn't cut into my 3 minutes.
No.
Hello, everyone. My name is Kevin Smith, 205 Nathaniel Court, Montgomery, Texas. With your undivided attention for the next 3 minutes, you and I can solve a mystery and potentially save people's lives. I'm a simple homeowner who knows nothing about pools. I moved into a city because of the regulations and ordinances, not into the country where anything goes. This is not vindictive. I'm not attempting to be mean or make enemies. I'm simply stating facts. Passionate. I love my city, and I'm only here to make it better. In 2020, I had a pool installed that had 3 LED lights. A licensed electrician put 2 lights in that had an electrical line that was too short. I told them the manufacturer makes the same light with a longer line. I was told the lights are low voltage, and 8 butt splices were put in plastic conduit and buried. That's what a butt splice looks like. Not very roadworthy. The pool failed final inspection due to other circumstances, and to this date has never passed final inspection, but has passed electrical inspection. We hired an expert witness to evaluate our pool. He noted the electrical work had major issues. It was not bonded properly, not grounded properly, conduit and junction box violations. Butt splices should never have passed electrical inspection. In November of 2022, a licensed electrician was putting in lights in my neighbor's pool, and I casually mentioned to him the long lines he was using and if he had ever used butt splices. He spun around like I had insulted his wife and said, "That's a $5,000 fine for each one of these. There are 8 underground. So that's a $40,000 fine. The electrician should lose their license, and you could electrocute anyone using your pool." I immediately pulled the lights out and plugged the holes. I contacted the Texas Department of Licensing and Regulation, and a case is currently being investigated. They're inspectors and prosecutors. I apologize for my passion. I contacted the city, who was aware of my pool and the issues, and brought special attention to the Butts Place issues and the TDLR case. I was told by city officials, and I quote, "What was observed met the requirements of the building code." The city goes on, and I quote again, "The underground splices for the pool lights would not have met code, but they were not visible during inspection. Good luck in your pursuit of holding the electrical company accountable." With that as a background, now I get to the part where I can use your help. We pay good money, big good money, for permits in this city. The city inspector's job, whose job it is to inspect and potentially find deadly work to keep me and my family safe, so I thought.
Go ahead and finish.
It's 30 more seconds, thank you. I emailed city officials, and I quote, "So let me get this straight. A state licensed electrician can violate code, bury it, never call for an open ditch inspection, and the city inspector doesn't demand anything be uncovered to see with his own eyes, and the city inspector then passes the electrical inspection. The safety nets the safety net I and every other resident in the city of Montgomery depend upon has let me down. I hope the city council is the final safety net that will help we citizens out. Here's the mystery you can help me solve, as no one from the city will answer this after repeatedly being asked. Scenario, let's say my granddaughters were electrocuted and killed in my pool. Who's responsible? Who's ultimately responsible here? Me, the electrician, the city inspector who passed the inspection, city administrators who said, it's fine, I hope, good luck. I look forward to having you help me solve this mystery. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir.
I have copies of my letter. Since I love to show and tell in kindergarten, I'll let you see what a butt splice looks like. There's a butt splice. There's a copy of my letter. Butt splice.
Thank you.
Beautiful work done. I've held up over years.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, next up, Stephanie Clevenger.
Good evening, sirs and madams. I don't have any complaints. I don't have anything to report. I live at 388 Berkeley Drive with my children. I just had a question. Has the committee talked about and moved on the Hometown Hero banners? That's my only question.
Can you answer?
We're not supposed to answer, I don't think.
Okay, well, you had told me the last meeting, I'd asked you the question, and you said as far as you knew, it was still in committee. So that's what I wanted to know, if the committee is moving on the Hometown Banners project. Hometown Hero.
We can find out.
Yes.
Pardon me?
Sure, we can find out.
I'll get back to you.
Okay, that's all, thanks.
Thank you. Next up, Julie Dennison.
I'm Julie Dennison, 114 Anna Springs. I'm here speaking about this special use permit that is going to be under consideration. This is my third time speaking on this. I think this is bad for the homeowners there. If this happens, it's going to be in my backyard. And if you let this person do this, then the next person down the road is going to do it, and the next one. And some of those places are going to get sold off. I don't want a beer joint or a strip club in my backyard. And I don't know what, it's going to ruin our property value. Personally, if that was back there, I wouldn't, buy the house myself. We bought it with the understanding that that's a residential only area. And if this gentleman, wherever he is, if he didn't do the proper homework, I can't help that, and I'm sorry for his loss, but he's a real estate man, he can sell it. But anyway, I'm against it, and I know some of my neighbors are too. Thank you.
Thank you. Right. All right, under consent agenda, item 1, approval of following minutes. Item A, City Council and Board of Adjustments meeting 5/29/23. Item B, City Council Workshop 6/5/2023. It's the council's pleasure. We take A and B together, or would you like them individually? Together, okay? All right, I entertain a motion to approve item 1A and B.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Motion's by Casey. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Sarah. Motion's debatable, amendable, requires majority vote. All in favor of approving consent agenda, say yes.
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 Anyone opposed, say no. And we will approve the consent agenda. Item 2, consideration possible action on calling a public hearing related to a special use permit application for 14640 Liberty Street as submitted by Emmett Ballou.
Mayor and council, you have the information in your packet. Again, you will recall this property had requested to be rezoned. It was denied by council. The property owner has submitted a special use permit application. Again, as a reminder, the only step tonight is to call a public hearing for it. The owner has the right to petition the city for the SUP. So this is part of the process that he has the right to. So.
Council have any questions or comments?
As a person that lives in that neighborhood, and I too have spoken up that I'm not in favor of this, and I believe that, what was described as a future land map that was not ever adopted future land map was part of your decision to purchase the property, if I understand correctly. And that part of property, it's residential today. I don't know when it would be commercial. I can see somewhere in the future maybe having houses set up with different boutiques and restaurants and lovely extends our downtown. I just don't know if today is that day.
Any other comments, questions, discussion? All right, entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to call the public hearing for July the 11th, 2023 at 6 o'clock.
I second.
We have a motion by Carol, a second by Cheryl. Motion is debatable, amendable, but requires majority vote. Any further discussion?
I have a question. What if we deny the public hearing?
I have to with my attorney.
I
So
don't think you can.
I would recommend that you not.
Yep.
This is part of the due process. You certainly have no obligation to grant the permit,
Right.
but under the code, any citizen has the right to ask. And so part of due process is to go through that process, give them their hearing day in court, so to speak, and then you get to make the decision, yes or no.
Absolutely. I just wanted to clarify.
Okay. Any other discussion or questions? We have a motion and a second. All in favor of approving the workshop set for July the 11th? Item 2, all in favor say yes.
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 Anyone opposed say no. And we will approve July 11th public hearing. Item 3, consideration and possible action on an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Montgomery, Texas, amending Chapter 64, peddlers, solicitors, and vendors of the City Code of Ordinances, repealing Chapter 64 in its entirety, and adopting the language herein, providing a severance clause and Texas Open Meetings Clause, and providing an effective date.
Thank you, Mayor. The council reviewed the proposed amendments at your workshops on April 11th and June 5th. The comments and edits from the workshops have been included in the clean version you can find in your packets. So the major changes that we incorporated with these amendments, bringing the ordinance definitions in line with state law, so administrative stuff. We further regulated where food trucks are permitted to operate. Food trucks can operate with this proposed amendment in commercial zones other than the historic district. Operating in the historic district only requires a special use permit. They can operate in the institutional zones, in the industrial zones, in any other district upon city council approval. We provided provisions for the food truck courts, which basically just requires a special use permit from the council. We added exemptions to the ordinance, which are roadside farm stands, cottage foods, food trucks that are operating under a street festival permit. Right now, they have to get an individual permit if they're operating under a special event or street festival. We're eliminating that, so they would be under that umbrella. Food trucks operating on the same property as a principal business that's serving food, like Bar A. If they wanted to have a food truck on their property, they could do that under this proposed ordinance. And continuously roaming ice cream trucks. So we've exempted those. And the last major change we did was the duration of the permit and the fee. If you recall our conversation, we kind of went back and forth on that. And I think we came up with a solution that will help us both administratively and make things uniform. So we're proposing food trucks that can get a week permit for $25, 1 month permit for $100, or a 6-month permit for $600, respectively. So the Planning and Zoning Commission was presented with these amendments, and they held a public hearing on May 2nd and subsequently transmitted their recommendation to y'all, which is in your packets. And that recommendation is to approve. They, just to be clear, they only can recommend approval of the stuff that's in the zoning ordinance. So the table of permitted uses, which is the next item, and directly related to this, that's what they're recommending approval of. But I did ask them to review the entire ordinance. I don't know if y'all did that, but the recommendation is to approve. So with that, we also recommend approval of the ordinance as proposed. So I'll answer any questions y'all have.
I hear a lot of people wanting sip and stroll back. Do we have a special, how would that work? If we had a sip and stroll, like say on Thursday nights, would they, each individual vendor need a permit, or would we just do that event, like call that like an event?
I would imagine, and someone can correct me if I'm wrong, that would be a street festival permit,
Okay.
and the vendors would be under that
Good.
permit. So they wouldn't have to pay an extra fee.
Thank you.
Any other comments, discussion, questions? I would like to thank current council, former council, planning and zoning staff for your concerted efforts in finally bringing this to what we believe to be fair consideration of all factors. Thank you especially, Gary. That's the missing piece right there, is to bring all people to the table and do what we feel like is best interest of all. So thank you for
Yes,
that.
thank you, Gary. Considerable. I think you started like day one, so I can't imagine that as you put into effect.
Lots of workshops, lots of
workshops,
thoughts,
yeah.
lots of
That's good.
meetings, lots of consideration.
It went how it was supposed to go. That's
Yes.
exactly how we should.
That's how we're going forward
Amen.
with everything, so good deal.
That's right.
All right, do I have a motion?
I'd like to make,
Go ahead.
I'd like to make a motion to accept item number 3 as presented. Approve the amendment to the City of Montgomery Municipal Code by repealing Chapter 64 in its entirety and adopted the proposed amended Chapter 64 as proposed.
Do I have a second?
Second.
First is by Sarah, second by Casey. The motion is debatable, amendable, requires majority vote. All in favor of approving item 3 as presented, say yes.
Yes.
Anyone opposed, say no. Unanimously, we will approve item number 3. Item 4, consideration possible action on an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Montgomery, Texas, amending Chapter 98 zoning, Article 3, Districts and Zoning Map, Division 1, generally, Section 98-88, Table of Permitted Uses and Special Uses of the City Code of Ordinances, repealing Section 98-88 in its entirety, and adopting the language herein, providing a severance clause and a Texas Open Meetings Clause, and providing an effective date.
Thank you, Mayor. Directly related to the last amendment, this amendment provides regulations on the permitted location of the food trucks within the city. And it does that by zone. So if you look at the table that's in your packets, in the ordinance, you will see how it's matrixed out. Food trucks are permitted in the commercial, industrial, and institutional districts as a principal permitted use, and in all other districts as a special use. So those are the only changes that we made to the table, and we also provided for the food truck courts. And I'll answer any questions y'all have.
Any questions, discussion? All right, entertain a motion on item 4.
Make a motion to approve the amendment to the City of Montgomery zoning ordinance by repealing Section 98-88, Table of Permitted Uses and Special Uses in its entirety, and adopting the proposed amendment on Section 98-88 of Table of Permitted Uses and Special Uses as proposed.
Motion is stated by Casey. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second is by Stan. The motion is debatable, amendable, requires a majority vote. All in favor of approving item 4 as presented, say yes.
Yes.
Anyone opposed, say no. And we will approve item 4 unanimously. Item 5, call for city council workshops for the remainder of 2023.
Thank you, Mayor. In your packets, you'll find a schedule that I'm proposing. And we had talked about this over the past couple months about the need to have workshops. As you can see with this last couple amendments, that was very beneficial to have those discussions. I want the public to kind of be a part of that. And for us to get through some questions and answers that we need to get through. The workshops provide a public forum for the city council and the city staff, consultants, to informally discuss project programs, policies, and initiatives without taking any formal action at that meeting. Workshop serves as an essential forum for the city council to ask questions, clarify their position, and deliberate. Items from workshops must be moved to a regular meeting agenda in order for action to be taken by the council. So again, in your packets, you'll find a list of dates, and you'll see that looks like at least the first 4, well, except for the first one, are related to budget. And then the remainder after we adopt the budget are just general workshop items for issues that we can throw on the agenda and bring to you all to discuss, stuff that you guys can put on the agenda for discussion. So with that, I'll defer to y'all on what you want to do.
I would like to request just taking the September 11th and starting that at 5. At that calendar date would be tough for me to get here at 4.
So instead of 4 to 6, 5 to 6?
5 to 6 or, yeah.
We'll probably need 2 hours for that one, so we don't need to put the time in there.
I just don't think I can get there by 4.
Thank you for getting out ahead of these dates too, so we can plan our calendars as
Right.
well. I like the organization.
So it's going to be from 5 to 7?
5 to 7 on September 11th. Everything else
I
is...
mean, that budget one, we can book it for 5 to 7, but if we need more time, we'll start at 5. Is that what you're saying there?
Yes.
Okay.
Any other questions? All right, entertain a motion.
I make a motion that we call for city council workshops for the remainder of the year of 2023, according to the schedule that we have.
A second?
Motion by Cheryl, second by Sarah. Motion is debatable, amendable, requires majority vote. All in favor of approving item 5 as stated, say yes.
Yes.
Anyone opposed, say no. And we'll approve item 5, council workshops for the remainder of 2023. Item 6, discussion regarding the City of Montgomery and Montgomery County interlocal governmental agreements for the Town Creek Bridge and Lone Star Parkway Buffalo Springs intersection improvements.
This is discussion only. I had some questions from the council that I couldn't answer, because I'm not an attorney. So I figured I'd just throw it on the agenda, we can all discuss it. So I'll defer to the council for whatever questions you guys have on these agreements.
So I was looking at the agreement for the Lone Star Parkway at Town Creek Bridge. And on page 2 of that, it says city responsibilities in Roman numeral 2, provide the city funding share being 50% of the design and construction cost of the project, not to exceed $100,000. Herein defined as city share, subject to the provisions set forth in section 3 below in accordance to section 2 below. So section 2 below is the terms of payment. And I had a question, the way that I'm reading this, Alan, is looks like that we pay $100,000 and then it's plus whenever the project is finished within 30 days of the completion of the project, county shall submit to the city for approval of final accounting of the project cost, including the final city share, and city shall remit payment of the city share to county on or before 45 days of city's receipt of such final accounting and invoice. The final city share for the project shall be based on all project costs incurred to date for the project. So it already talks, and then prior to that, it talks about being invoiced 45 days once they reward the bid, which they did, I think, 3 weeks, a month ago, and they've already started. But the way that I read it, it's like, okay, because it says, upon acceptance of the bid or award by county, county will invoice city for the city's share, and city shall remit payment of the city's share to the county on or before 45 days of city's receipt of such invoice. So it sounds like to me, so once they rewarded and accepted the bid, they will send us an invoice for 45 days of $100,000. Then the next sentence states, within 30 days of the completion of the project, county shall submit the city for approval of final accounting of the project. Costs, the project cost, including the final city share, and city shall remit payment of the city's share. So to me, it sounds like $100,000 plus whatever the end amount is. Am I reading that correctly?
No.
Okay.
I mean, I do understand where you're coming from.
Yeah.
Because I can see that. But the city share is a defined term. And so the city share is always the 100,000. And where it says they'll provide a final accounting, including the city's share, that's, you know, an accounting of all of the costs. But the final payment is still only the city's share, which again is a defined term. So they may go over that amount, or they may go under that amount. I don't know what the bid amount was.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with Sarah with the last sentence of that paragraph. We can argue definition all you want, but if you read it at face value, there's a period and then it starts. The final city share for the project shall be based on the project cost. That is not defined.
There is 3 of us still sitting on this council, and I can assure you, there were very few things unanimous, but that was one of them on former council. We did not want to go one dime over 100 grand. That was our
The minutes
intent.
are very clear on the intent of the council. You know, obviously we have the recording too. So there's no question about the intent. And that was the whole reason for defining the city's share as 100,000. You know, I don't believe that you have any obligation to pay more than $100,000.
Okay, Alan, on page 106 on our agenda today, it says city responsibility, and on 2 it says provide the city funding being share 50% of the design and construction cost of the project, not to exceed $250,000.
No, that's a different one.
That's
the
the-
that's
the
the roundabout.
Oh.
But on that one, because I was going to bring it up, Alan, on the roundabout, the last line says it states in absolute we don't pay more than
It says it again,
$250,000, but it's
yeah.
not on this one. So I
that's
didn't
right.
understand why there was a difference.
Well, I think on the other one, we decided we needed to make it 100% clear. But I
We want to make
still,
this 100% too.
Yeah. We want that one clear, too.
well, I still think this one
Because I misunderstood it on
reads
this.
that our share is only 100,000.
All right, but it seems that there's a consensus, and we're gathering consensus, right? I would highly recommend that you fashion that statement with the bridge in a similar manner, or a more definitive manner, to make sure that we're not out any additional costs.
Sure.
And if you could do that, that would be awesome.
Because with what the bid of all the bids they received, none of them, 100,000 was not half the bid.
Not even
And
close.
right now, it's about a quarter of the bid, actually a little bit more than that. But if you go up, the same page on 2, on the X, it says, provide the county funding share being 50% of the total design and construction cost of the project, county share, subject to provisions set forth. So that sounds like the county is willing to pay 50%. And then when you go down to the city's responsibilities, it says that we are 50% of the design, but not to exceed 100,000. My concern is, when the county, they accepted the lowest bid, which was a little over 400,000. The highest bid was about 1.1, 1.2 thousand. That's a huge delta. I don't know any other job that you say, okay, I can do the same job as you can, but I'm going to charge you 400 and you're going to charge 1.2 million. So clearly there's going to be change orders. I want to make sure we're not on the hook for those change orders.
Right.
Because those change orders, if they get up to 1.1 million, so now we are now on the hook for over 300,000 of that, on top of this 100,000.
Well, I think under the agreement, we're only on the hook for 100,000, but we can make the county doubly aware of that.
And how would we do that? Is that with a resolution? Is that with,
The council's already expressed its intent, so we can follow up with a letter to remind the county of our intent under this agreement.
Absolutely.
Would we get a copy of that?
The agreement's already been signed, it
Yep.
was signed back in
October?
October. My question is, why does it take the county that long to execute their side of it? But,
Government.
Welcome to City Council
Yeah,
government.
government. I mean, they just awarded it, they have to leave it they have to leave it open and work with engineers to see what the scope is. There's some latency there for sure. But I do appreciate, so on the agreement for the roundabout, was that our first draft that we sent over? Do you know?
Let's see this.
I don't know, just.
The one in
we sent over,
February?
I think we edited it and sent back
Okay.
edits, and I think it's still sitting with the county right now.
Yeah. I was just wondering, because I saw that we signed it, and I was like, if it's our agreement, we send it over, we don't sign it, I would think, I didn't know how it worked. I was like, why did we sign this, sending it over if there was any more editing to do? That was my question. But if we're happy with all of that, and that is the final edit, then understood.
Yeah, I think on our part, we were done.
Right.
Well, and they're trying to now put a light there, and a roundabout is definitely what the city desire is, and would be the best for today's congestion and the future congestion. And the last traffic study was 2.5 years ago, and Commissioner Walker was surprised at that traffic study. There was nearly 15,000 cars that went through that intersection. I promise you today, there's been a substantial uptick. So I don't know if we have any studies with that new traffic count, but I think it's certainly worth going back and revisiting and showcasing the need for, one, the roundabout, and two, something to happen quickly, because this has been February, we're in the middle of June, and they still haven't. And I did call Blyle Engineering after the Commissioners Court, and they said that the city and the county couldn't agree on an amount. And I said, well, we're quite clear what the amount was. And so they're putting together a new, we call them bombs, but bill of materials and what it would look like. I assume that we'll probably get a copy of that, but anytime that they're doing work in the city, can we make sure we have a seat at the table? I feel like we're kind of getting railroaded.
I want
You're talking about
to,
unit costs?
Sir?
The unit costs going up, is that what you're talking about?
Well, yes, the cost going up, and just making sure that we actually go to battle and say, we don't want a light, we want a roundabout. When I spoke to him first time about this, the roundabout made most sense because there wasn't enough right-of-way to do a light. The congestion wasn't going to, at that time, provide enough relief. And
let me say this, I can clearly say to the staff that I've already had a meeting a couple of weeks ago with the top officials of the school district. A few weeks ago, we approved some parking variance there for vocational trades, less than a quarter mile from that intersection, right? I strongly urge us to insist on a roundabout, not a shoddy one either. that the county join up with us to make a hard swing out, because vocational trades also includes ag. So you're going to pull not only buses through that area, but you're going to have livestock trailers go through that area. It's a shoddy road to begin with. I'm working with Congressman Luttrell. I've got a return phone call I'm expecting back. I'm going to invite staff and anyone else to come out there and look at that shoddy loop as a whole, which involves that grand scheme of things. And whether it's 4 stop signs or lights, you're still stuck. You had 300 to 400 homes in that area, plus all that cattle trailer and buses, folks. We need to take a hard line, and we've got the school district that's saying amen to it. So I encourage staff, bring me onto the table, however you want to do this, but we need to stick to that, because we don't need to be accepting, even though it's interlocal agreement, it doesn't matter. Interlocal, who pays for it? Let's take care of our needs now and for the future, and clearly a roundabout is the best solution. Keep the traffic moving. Otherwise, we're going to be very frustrated, and that road's going to get torn up. And not only does it need to be a stronger road, but we need to have either 2 lanes going both ways if we could, which may not be feasible, but at least full shoulders on both sides. We need to insist on this, get Mr. Luttrell behind it. Will Metcalf is on this side. He just called me back today. So let's stick to our guns, use that school district who has a vested interest, and let's get what we need on Lone Star Loop.
And something to suggest too is if they'll partner with us in building it, I think it would be, I hope the city, well, we can talk about it, we'd be open to the cost of maintaining it. That road is a county road, but there is a city road that is the 4 square of a county road, comes at 4 points, and that county road needs a lot of attention, but if we can get that and we maintain the roundabout on our dime to ensure, because we don't get a lot of attention over here, and rather than wait in line, potentially could be years, if we needed some maintenance done, I think it'd be something we could consider.
Along the lines of concessions as well, it came up in the initial meeting that I had with the county commissioner regarding this agreement, trying to get that split shared cost there from the beginning. They began to kick up their heels a little bit on the bells and whistles, as they would call it. I think we can handle that. I think the EDC is well equipped. It's tourism, it's economic development issues, and I think we can handle any kind of beautification, whether it be shrubbery, whether it be whatever in the middle of that thing. But I want it structurally sound for now and 40 years from now. And that's the main thing I want from the county. Any others?
So thank you for the clarification. I just wanted to make sure we weren't.
Yes.
The way I was reading it is.
So we've got bridge clarification. We need to take a harder stance on that, and I think we're clear on the roundabout. Any further discussion, comments?
Yeah, I do have one. So if the county decides to tell us to pound sand on that roundabout, how fast can we make them put in the light? How fast can we push it?
Go ahead, Chris, please.
So their current scope and schedule is they've already bid and they're procuring the equipment for the intersection to install, I believe, October for the signals. And they have a widening project to put in turn lanes on Lone Star Parkway, so it'll be dedicated left and right and through on Lone Star Parkway.
Have we had any additional, can they, yes, they can go and procure that and decide to do that, but at the same time, we have had no involvement at all.
They sent us the plans.
Yeah.
We provided comments to have them move out all the poles and everything to allow for Buffalo Springs to be widened. But, you know, again, we're not.
Was there a city person there to advocate for the roundabout instead of the lights in that meeting?
No, it was they sent us the plans. We're asking about permits was the first we got wind of it. Asking about electrical permits to power the signals. So that's when we got a copy of the plans, requesting to move everything out. They went to bid.
So if we want the roundabout, I mean, and say, let's go back to the table and let's talk about a roundabout. Let's take the lights off the lights are not going to alleviate anything. They're not. But they've already put the bid out, and are we stuck in having to go with the less effective route and the cheaper route?
So the county, my understanding is the county is procuring those, installing them per per their crews. So it wasn't a publicly bid project. The roadway work is going to go out to public bid, full plans designed by a consultant. The intersection improvements were designed by the county engineer, and they were procuring and installing it with their own labor, is my understanding.
Were we in any of those meetings? Did we have a voice at the table?
No, we found out about it when they asked about the electrical permit for the signal.
My other understanding with the light and any road upgrades for the light, the county was going to foot the whole bill.
Correct.
Okay, so let me leave you one more thing that I may have mentioned before, a couple of things. Governor Abbott proposed $100 million for TxDOT, right? My discussions with Commissioner Walker specifically stated, he stated that, hey, I got a lot of pull with TxDOT. Guess who one of his biggest fans, mutual fans, is? Morgan Luttrell. All right, so I'm just saying, all right, let's get all the spunk we can get, all the help we can get with the Commissioner's office, and let's see if we can get exactly what we need. It's a high concession that I just feel like we're not going to be happy with. Paid for it in full or not. You know, it might be a blessing right now, but in 7 years, I might be one of the ones that come back and say, who's the idiot that put lights here? You know, and I don't want to be that idiot. Let it be somebody else. So let's do what we have to do, and let's get to the table. Give me a phone call, whatever you need to do, and Morgan will come. So far, he's been the only politician that has consistently messaged me back or even called me, his representatives. And so I'm hoping that very soon we're able to walk out there and put our eyes and feet on exactly what the situation is and show them the reality. Show them where we're about to put cattle trailers and everything else. Show them the big picture. And then we've got to get that big picture in the Commissioner's office. Take a strong stance. Go for it.
But who's at the table? That's what I'm asking. Like, we got to have somebody at the table. That's not Chris's job.
I know.
How about, this is what I read, how about I set up a meeting, me and you, Mayor, we get together and let's strategize.
There you go.
Put some people together.
Chris, is that something that's reversible?
What's that?
The lights.
Yeah, so part of the comment about them procuring it themselves and installing it, it's not a publicly bid contract, is my understanding.
So there would be no interlocal for this.
Correct, there is, that's why the interlocal
Design
is
it.
sitting half signed, because again, the story that we got when we got the plans was the construction cost estimate came higher than they were expecting on the revised estimate, so they decided to forego that and go with the signalized intersection widening.
Okay.
I think also maybe consider a resolution from the city council.
Agreed.
Very good.
Yes.
Very good.
And even though, so the cost was $550,000 2 years ago, right? And now it's like, he's stating, I thought it was like $725, $750. Okay, so if you split the hairs, that's $150,000 difference if we split that 50%. That should not stop this on the county side for $150,000. I mean, it shouldn't. That should not stall this out and make them not want to have a
Like I
discussion.
say, I hope there are some gifts coming. I'm praying for it, I'm working for it, I'm doing everything I can. There's too many millions of dollars that's in the TxDOT specifically. That is a TxDOT concern, and so I'm hoping for the best and working for the
I don't
best.
think I've ever seen a place that's more prime for a roundabout than that intersection.
No doubt about
Exactly.
it. It's absolutely calling out for it.
And it's good timing too, because there's an election next year.
Oh, sure. Is there? Okay.
So that's see.
Any others? Thank you, staff, council. Good discussion. All right, ready for item 7? Consider removal of Montgomery Economic Development Committee Director President.
Thank you, Mayor. In your packets, please find the bylaws for the MEDC. And you'll see where it states that the city council can remove a member of the EDC with or without cause. So I'll refer back to the council for discussion and action.
Any discussion? If not, I move for a motion.
I make a motion to remove the president and director of the Economic Development Committee.
Motion by Casey, do I have a second?
I second.
Second by Cheryl. The motion is debatable. Amendment requires majority vote. Any further discussion?
Do we have a reason? Is there,
So based on comments from people that have had interactions with the person in question, from meetings that have just recently happened. I really don't want to repeat what was said because it's not proper. But anyways, it's not how we treat the citizens, right? We're here to serve them, and if we're not all in the same direction and serving the city, and we're here for a personal agenda, then they don't belong. And I'm very adamant.
Okay.
Well, the other thing is to maybe just a new direction for the commission. Could
Okay.
be.
Any others? Motion by Casey, second by Cheryl. Motion's debatable, amendable, requires majority vote. All in favor of item 7, removing Montgomery Economic Development Committee Director President, say yes.
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 Anyone opposed, say no.
No.
No is,
No,
gotcha.
I don't know what the feedback has been.
All right. And we will approve item 7 as stated, 4-1. Executive session, adjourn into closed session in compliance with Section 551.01 ETSEQ, Texas Government Code, to wit, Sections 551.071, consultation with attorney, Redbird Meadows Development Agreement, 551.072, deliberation regarding real property. It is 6:46, and we are adjourned into executive session. It is 7:21, and we are back from executive session. And there are any motions? There are none. Correct? All right, council inquiry. All right, I have a couple things just for council or staff or anyone who's interested. First, on the 24th of June, there's a new VFW coming into existence. And it is on Saturday, the 24th. They're doing a fundraiser from 11 a.m. to 2. It's $15 a plate at 14264 Liberty Street. That's VFW fundraising, $15 a plate, 14264 Liberty Street, Saturday, the 24th, from 11 to 2. Everybody got that? Don't know what they're having, Dave, so don't ask. Then, that's not this Saturday, but the next.
Okay, but this Saturday,
And then this Saturday is a dance, sponsored by Sheriff, sort of, kind of.
they're not.
A very successful dance, a dance that freely allows everybody to roll and do what they need to do, and it's a very good deal. And it's free, absolutely free.
the
You
summer?
can trust your government on that. It is actually free.
Bringing a big fan to our table.
Oh, good.
All right, then that same VFW is hosting an official grand opening. VFW Post 12223 at 2500 Lone Star Parkway, which is the Lone Star Center. That is July the 1st at 11 a.m. And there are representatives from Normandy to Brenham, from Katy to College Station and Magnolia and Bryan, Conroe, Porter, all around the general area. Looks like there's some dignitaries there, some speakers. It just looks like a really neat thing. So that is July the 1st at 11 a.m. And it looks like it might go an hour and a half or so. And so you're invited to go to that as well.
Can you send those an email, Byron?
Yes, I can
Okay.
forward you all that email, so be
Thanks.
looking for that. And then on the 28th, Stan, I think you're going to a city council workshop, is it in San Antonio or somewhere?
Oh, no.
No.
Timmons Lane.
Oh, on Timmons Lane in Houston?
You going too? Yeah, we're all three going.
It's in
Yeah.
Houston.
Okay,
Sarah, I, and Stan are going.
okay, so we
Who's all
got three
three?
You, Carol and Stan?
going there. All right. Entertain, if nothing else, entertain a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Motion, need a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor, say yes.
Yes.
It's 7:24, we are adjourned.
7:20.